Okay, tonight we're going to talk about Jupiter and Saturn transitioning into Aquarius. So over 2 days in December, we're going to have two of the two interpersonal planets, Jupiter and Saturn, will be transiting into Aquarius from Capricorn. So this is going to represent an energetic shift from cardinal Earth to fixed air. And just as a reminder, Earth signs represent physical form and substance, and the cardinal element and energy of the signs represents energetic, dynamic energy, afraid to try new things. So when you put that together, you get cardinal Earth being ambitious, driven to achieve and gain status, that type of an energy. Now, moving into an air sign, you have more mental and social aspects to it. And fixed signs have a lot of perseverance, they're persistent, and they tend to be resistant to change. So you get, with fixed air, you tend to get more logic, objective view, and sometimes a little hard-headed. So 2 days later, after these two planets come in, we're going to be forming a great conjunction, which is a conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. So this is kind of a timeline of how it looks. It's kind of interesting that it's happening so close together. Not so much the conjunction, but the fact that since the two of them come into the new sign at the same time, you naturally will have the conjunction pretty close after that. So within 5 days, we have both of the transpersonal planets moving into Aquarius, and then we also have a conjunction between them. So what's really the significance of Jupiter and Saturn? When you think about it, they seem like opposite energies. Jupiter is expansive, full of opportunity, generosity, good luck, good fortune, what we traditionally call in astrology the greater benefit. Saturn has limits and restrictions. It's sort of like the opposite. It brings about your life lessons, obstacles, sorrows, dealing with karma, but it also brings discipline, responsibility, effort, and achievement. So Saturn is usually known as the greater malefic. So these two are what we call the transpersonal planets. If you've gone through some of my other trainings, we've talked about lumping different planets into different classifications. For example, the personal planets, the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, kind of talk a lot about your personal characteristics. The generational planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, tend to deal with longer trends that happen over a generation because they're very slow-moving planets. And Jupiter and Saturn represent how we interface between the sort of interpersonal world ourselves and the outer world. And this conjunction that they have about almost every 20 years is sort of signals the next shift into the next wave of expectations and experiences. So before I get started, I just want to make sure and mention this to you. So if you have a copy of your chart, this will make it a lot more useful to go through this particular talk. You want to identify where in your chart the energy of Aquarius is, because as Jupiter and Saturn move through Aquarius, you will see things happening. In this particular chart example, you see that this individual has a sun in Aquarius. So he will have a conjunction at some point when Jupiter or Saturn gets to 9 degrees Aquarius. So if you can see that on your chart, then it'll make it a lot more meaningful and understandable when I go through these energies in the different houses. So this one is in the first house, of course. Now, most people span more than one house. So you can kind of look at how the energies will hit. If you, let's say you have it in two houses, you might find that you have a little bit of one house and then another house. So you can look at the definitions of both houses. And as the planets move through, it'll affect it. There'll be like a shift of how this affects you. So for a little bit more advanced is with respect to aspects. So when you look at your natal chart, you can look for planets that are in the following signs, and they will be making aspects with Jupiter and Saturn as it goes through Aquarius. For example, in the last chart, I showed you someone that had the sun in Aquarius. So at some point, like when it reached 9 degrees, you would have a conjunction with Aquarius, which can either be actually harmonious or challenging. If you have a planet, a natal planet in Jupiter or Libra, however you pronounce it, you can have a trine, and that tends to be considered a harmonious aspect. Sagittarius and Aries, sextiles, and those again are harmonious. So if you have a planet in one of those two signs, if you have a planet in Scorpio or Taurus, at some point you will have a square, which is more challenging. And if you have a planet in Leo, when the degree of Leo matches one of those other two planets as it transits, you'll have an opposition, which again is considered challenging. So depending upon what type of aspect you have, it can either be more of a positive, harmonious one or one that creates challenges. And of course, the closer to the degree of the planet, the transiting planets get, the stronger that energy will be in your life. So first, let's walk through Saturn. Saturn goes into Aquarius on December 17th. It lasts in a sign for about 2 years. And Saturn tends to deal with organization, lessons, and discipline. So it's very strong in Aquarius because it's the classical ruler of Aquarius. Again, concerned with rules and structures. Support of the group because of the Aquarian element, while allowing people to have individual freedom. If the old rules aren't that useful, Saturn will tear them down and build something new. So Saturn in Aquarius really respects the authority that's associated with the group of its choice because of the Aquarius piece. Capable of violating rules, structures, and laws if they don't support the general good. Saturn in Aquarius appears to be a rebel, but it does adhere to its own internal code of ethics and set of rules and guidelines for its behavior and actions. Maybe not always so obvious and accepted by others. So this is the chart for when Saturn actually goes into Aquarius. So you'll notice that Saturn's at 0 degrees Aquarius, 0 minutes. And this happens literally right after midnight on December 17th. I just always like to show these charts to give someone a better concept of what's going on. So as Saturn goes through, if you look at your chart and Aquarius is in your first house, Saturn's going to be dealing with who you are. At that time, you may initiate a new venture, but be objective about what you take on because you can have a lot of heavy responsibilities while doing this, and the accomplishments may be great, but you have to sort of manage the balance of that, and you may need to cut back a little bit on your external focus on other activities to be able to focus on the new venture that you wish to accomplish. So the keywords for this house are life, circumstances, new ventures, personal interests, involvements, and identity, sort of dealing with who are you. Saturn in Aquarius in the second house. So if you have Aquarius in your second house, it deals with what you value. At this period of time, because of the Saturn and the Aquarius piece, you may feel a little more financially insecure. You may need to look for a way to organize your finances some creative way so you don't have to worry and can be more financially independent. So the house keywords for the second house are financial matters, personal possessions, resources, tangible beauty, and comfort. Saturn in Aquarius in the third house. Third house deals with how you communicate. You may struggle with Saturn to communicate with others as you have before. So look to educate yourself on new methods to more efficiently deliver your message. At this point, some people were laughing at the previous meeting and talking about how all of us have been using Zoom to now communicate more effectively than we did before. House keywords include communications, education, writing, siblings, and local travel. Now, if you have Aquarius in your fourth house, this deals more with cleaning up your personal space or your home life. You may have some issues with your home or your family life. It might be just as simple as reorganizing or reshuffling your domestic life, or your home may become a burden. So the key words for this are home, family, dependency, nurturance, roots, and parent. Aquarius in the fifth house. Fifth house, how do you express yourself? May experience difficulties with children or loved ones. Use caution with any form of speculation. Saturn and Aquarius both like structure, so you'll need to be more disciplined and objective. The house keywords are children, loved ones, speculation, risk-taking, and self-esteem. You have Aquarius in your sixth house. Your focus is going to be more on work and health. This is a very Saturnian time of heavy responsibility and hard work. You can feel overburdened and unappreciated. So conserve your energies so that your health is not impacted. The key words are work, employees, colleagues, and health. Aquarius in the seventh house. Focus on relationships. You may have more experience, you may experience more difficulties with partnerships requiring more effort than they're worth. Aquarius tests your abilities to confront others. Saturn understands the rules and lives up to them. The key words are marriage, partnership, competition, visual beauty, and balance. The eighth house deals with losing resources from others. During this transit, Saturn may cause you to lose access to some of those resources. You must learn to live with other people's values without losing your own independence. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose all your money. It just may mean that you may have been counting on something that doesn't come through, maybe a loan you were borrowing money, and for some reason you can't do that, or there may be a variety of things. Don't necessarily turn this into a financial deficit situation. The house keywords are sexuality, money from others, death, taxes, and the occult. In the ninth house, you're assimilating what you've learned. The ninth house is about learning. So your views about life are stabilizing. You understand the rules now. You'll be attracted to subjects like religion, metaphysics, or philosophy. Stay open to new ideas. If you assume you know everything, you may have legal difficulties because the ninth house also deals with legal issues. And of course, we've got Saturn there. House keywords: education, travel, worldview, religion, values, and ideals. The 10th house, experience the results. Saturn rules the 10th house and Aquarius the system. So if you've done all your preparation, you will be ready to gain additional responsibilities. It's time to take a leadership role, and it can be rewarding. However, you can experience problems if you have difficult aspects in your natal 10th house, or you've ignored the lessons Saturn teaches through the previous houses in this cycle. The house keywords are authorities, reality, status, career, and duties. So if you have Aquarius in the 11th house, you're integrating yourself with the group expression. Aquarius energies correspond to the 11th house and now bring in the duty of Saturn. So it's time to integrate with the group, come to terms with the responsibilities of whatever group you belong to. The 11th house also deals with your hopes, wishes, ideals, and objectives in life. The house keywords are alternatives, friends, groups, causes, and progress. So Aquarius in the 12th house, finishing up this Saturn cycle. So as Saturn transits your 12th house, you're finishing up this Saturn cycle. It's a good time to finish projects, not necessarily to start new ones yet. With Saturn in the 12th, you may withdraw into yourself to objectively observe what you have or have not accomplished. It's not yet time for action, but time for reflection. So the house keywords are higher self, unconscious, need for oneness, visions, dreams, and mental health. So that sort of ran through how Saturn looks in the various houses in Aquarius. And again, you're going to look at where Aquarius is in your chart to determine how those energies might impact your current natal chart. So moving on to Jupiter, Jupiter begins in Aquarius on December 19th. Jupiter is a little faster than Saturn, so it stays approximately 1 year in a sign, and it deals with expansion and luck. Jupiter in Aquarius must learn to deal with the group. While Jupiter is peregrine, which is everything but the 20 to 25 degrees, it may not be aware of searching for its purpose. Truth and freedom that Aquarius supports are not universal truths, but they will apply to the members of whatever group it's involved with. So remember, Aquarius deals with group energies. So all of those characteristics will apply more to the group than they would generally or universally. Idealistic and social are two qualities that are shared by both Jupiter and Aquarius. So this is actually the chart for when Jupiter goes into Aquarius, and it's a little after 6 a.m. on December 19th. So in the first house, you've got Jupiter in the first, or you've got Aquarius in the first. You want to know the truth of who you are. So we're starting a new cycle in the first house. We've outgrowing old ideas and how you deal with the world. You're starting to go more into your next phase. Persons and resources are drawn to you so you can mutually benefit. More depth in your spiritual life. It should be a fortunate year for you personally. So life circumstances, new ventures, personal interests, involvements, and identity, again, are the key words for the first house. So in the second house, you expand your resources. So you can grow in material resources during this transit. It may be a time to invest or to acquire new possessions, possibly in a unique or inventive new way. Whatever it is you value will increase. But take care not to mismanage these additional resources. So the key words again, financial matters, personal possessions, resources, tangible beauty, and comfort. In the third house, you learn to communicate in more new ways. Increase contacts in your local vicinity. Learn to communicate using new technologies. Relationships with siblings may be more congenial. You may also do some writing. So the key words for the third are communications, education, writing, siblings, and local travel. For the fourth house, your home is your castle. You seek peace and security in your home, your family, and your personal life. But be open to a unique definition of what family is at this point in your life. I think that's actually something that's fairly appropriate for folks who live in the villages where we live, because a lot of us are moving here from other places and starting a new life and making new friends and relationships. You may purchase a new home or make upgrades to your current home. And this transit is really about your domestic life. So home, family, dependency, nurturance, roots, and parent. The fifth house, Aquarius in the fifth house, learn to independently express yourself. This is an opportunity for personal growth, increased wisdom, and self-expression. In this transit, you can improve relationships with your children, lovers, and new people you meet. The keywords are children, loved ones, speculation, risk-taking, and self-esteem. The sixth house, again, deals with work and health. This is a good transit for work and for your personal health. However, with Jupiter, you have to be cautious about gaining weight during this time because Jupiter expands. While your day-to-day work may be fulfilling and enjoyable, freedom-loving Aquarius needs to be balanced with the increased responsibilities you've taken on. Again, keywords, work, employees, colleagues, and health. The seventh house deals with expanding relationships with others. And this transit favors the formation and maintenance of all kinds of partnerships, including marriage. Approach relationships, especially with groups, from a mutually beneficial perspective. Since Jupiter represents foreign places or people, you may become involved with a foreigner. House keywords: marriage, partnership, competition, visual beauty, and balance. The eighth house is resources from others. Traditionally, this transit involves an inheritance. While this doesn't happen every time with Jupiter in this house, you're likely to benefit from other people's resources. It's a good time to pool resources for a joint venture or to get a loan, but make your decisions based on logic, not emotion. If you've been recently through a stressful period, it's a good time for healing. So the house keywords for the eighth house are sexuality, money from others, death and taxes, and the occult. Aquarius in the ninth house. Expand your learning and communications. Jupiter rules the ninth house. Your life may be expanding rapidly. You may be traveling, learning, or teaching. You may be researching topics like philosophy, metaphysics, or religion. It's an excellent time to write because publishing is also associated with the ninth house. Keywords are education, travel, worldview, religion, values, and ideals. In the 10th house, you receive recognition for your efforts. Your focus with Aquarius in the 10th would be on career, social status, or reputation. With a reasonable effort, you can be successful. As long as you're not a know-it-all, you'll receive recognition for your accomplishments. You'll feel more confident in your abilities. Because it's the ninth house, travel is possible, or work in the fields of legislation and the law. Keywords: authorities, reality, status, career, and duties. The 11th house, Aquarius in the 11th. Anything's possible when you work together as a team, which is a very 11th house type of scenario. Aquarius energies correspond to the 11th house, and now the expansion of Jupiter. You'll be more likely to join group activities and expand your circle. You better understand the importance of group goals to you as an individual. You will tend to be more idealistic and want to improve the world. The keywords: alternatives, friends, groups, causes, and progress. When Aquarius is in the 12th house, you seek to find your spiritual self. This transit, you get the capacity to learn about the spiritual and religious aspect of your life and become more involved. You'll seek comfort in the knowledge or support from these areas, as well as add meaning to your life. Aquarius brings a detached, objective vision to how you view yourself and the world. House keywords are higher self, unconsciousness, need for oneness, visions and dreams, and mental health. So that's kind of an overview of both Jupiter and Saturn as they move through the houses. Naturally, this is what I would call a two-dimensional kind of view, because you're looking at each one from the perspective of that particular transiting planet with in the sign, with whatever house it's in. When you look, you also have to take into account for your specific chart when Jupiter and Saturn are together and kind of balance the two energies between what I just described, if they're both very close. Now, Jupiter is faster than Saturn, so Jupiter will eventually move faster ahead of Saturn, and they will separate. And so you won't have to worry about that much. But for the first year, maybe 6 months, you're going to have them a lot closer together energetically in your chart. So just be aware of that. You'll have two energies at once for a while, and then they'll gradually begin to separate. So what is a great conjunction? A great conjunction, actually, that's a special case for the conjunction of the two transpersonal planets, Jupiter and Saturn. And it occurs about every 19.6 years on the average. This has been known as the 20-year cycle of Jupiter and Saturn. And this great conjunction will occur at 1:22 p.m. This happens to be the closest conjunction of these two planets physically since 1623. It's also interesting, it's happening on the winter solstice at 0 degrees Capricorn, which will be when it initiates this next 20-year cycle. And there's also a conjunction in the element of air at 0 degrees Aquarius. So this is the Saturn conjuncts, or Jupiter conjunct Saturn. If you can see here where the circle is, they're both at 0 degrees Aquarius, 29 minutes. That happens at 1:22 p.m. on December 21st. So I think it's kind of interesting. It's the same day as the solstice. So if we want to, let's take a look at the solstice. We'll look at the solstice chart in just a second. So when you think about it, you've got Jupiter and Saturn. So you've got the Jupiter energies and the Saturn. So you've got success through effort. So for the individual, Jupiter conjunct Saturn offers you enormous potential for success with concerted effort. Aquarius masters the system and finds unique ways to obtain your goals. So despite overwhelming odds, you can find inventive ways to achieve your objectives. Just take care not to overexert yourself too much, since overdoing can be a challenge. So the keywords are realistic, serious, hopeful, assertive, and deliberate. As I mentioned a minute ago, we also have on the same day, a few hours earlier, we have the winter solstice, when Capricorn is at 0 degrees, or the sun goes into 0 degrees Capricorn, 0 minutes. So that is the moment of the solstice when the sun hits 0 degrees Capricorn, 0 minutes, which is circled in red. We also happen to have some other things going on here at that time, which I've circled in green. Here's Mercury at 0 degrees Capricorn, and then we have the semi-sextile to Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius. So I thought one of the interesting things of this particular solstice energy was that we have 4 planets at 0 degrees, 2 conjunctions and a semi-sextile between them. So to me, this indicates we have a mental interaction between the planets that's more involved on the internal side than experienced externally, because you have the Mercury piece. So that summarizes my Jupiter and Saturn transition into Aquarius. Thanks a lot.